Hello, Prague. I'm so happy to be here. It's like my second time. First time was with my lovely wife. We did the sightseeing and everything, and then, you know, the second time I come here, I come out of the cab, and my hotel is like near Old Town, and I look and I say, oh my God, I forgot how beautiful Prague is. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for reminding me that. And I want to talk about beauty in this talk. So we'll get to that. Okay, writing tests. A little bit about me. I'm really old. Like, I started developing in the 80s. I have to say this is the most exciting time to be a developer. We think that things are constantly changing. I've gone through a lot of these changes, but think of that. The web is 25 years old. That is a long, long time. And it's, you know, we're starting to stabilize. And for me, the web is the most important software development thing that happened. And it's wonderful. And all you people here are, you know, web developers. So let's hope it continues. I said I wanted to talk about beauty, but I want to talk about fear. Your fear, and we'll get to that. But first, let's talk about, you know, all of you, web developers. What kind of web developers are there in the world? First of all, there's back-end developers. You know, they know their stuff, they're experienced. You know those guys, those people. They talk about things like, you know, thread pools and message queues and Scala. And front-end people say, yeah, they're back-end and front-end developers. I like to split the front-end community to two communities. One is the JavaScript developers. Those are responsible for JavaScript. And remember, a lot of you people have both of these in common. So first of all, the JavaScript developers. What do they talk about? They talk about JavaScript. They talk about React, things like DOM and Angular and event listeners and all that. But let's not forget the CSS developers. Who's a CSS developer here? Who is? You guys are, you people are beautiful. You create beautiful stuff, and you are beautiful. And you talk about things like responsive design and media queries and Flexbox. And a wonderful thing is happening in the front end, in the development world, web and otherwise. Developers, you people, are starting to write tests. Why? Why are some of you, most of you, I hope, starting to write tests? Why are we writing tests? I call it ego programmophobia. What is ego programmophobia? It is a fear of one's own code. Listen to yourself. Close your eyes. Seek that fear inside you. You know that it is true. We all fear our own code, the code that we write. Let's talk about that a bit. You know, when a manager says, can you add that feature for me that does this and that and that? They picture it as a Lego. You see that Lego over there. You just add the code wonderfully in, and boom, the feature works. The real thing is this. You add the code and everything breaks. That is fear. Let's talk about removing code. You want to remove a CSS rule. You want to remove some code. This is what you think is going to happen. It's like perfect. This is the reality. And I'm going to waste time on this one. This is the reality of removing code. Yeah. What is the third thing you do? Well, you try to do. It's refactoring, changing your code. And this, what you think is going to happen, and this is what really happens. You are laughing, but when you're doing this, you are not laughing. You are crying out of fear. Remember, ego programmophobia. And it doesn't matter whether our code is a horribly written pile of spaghetti or a lovingly crafted set of loosely coupled modules. Doesn't matter. We fear changing the code. Ego programmophobia. Because changing the code means breaking the app. remember, the question was, why do web developers start testing? And the answer is they have discovered that testing, specifically developer testing, removes the need for manually testing the code after each code change. And when I say developer testing, I'm specifically talking about code that you people, the developers, write as part of writing your production code. Not QA automation engineers. That's another thing, very important. But developers writing code for the tests for themselves. And testing abolishes that fear. Testing abolishes agoraphobia. How does it work? You write your code. Very cool. And then you write the tests for your code. And then, you run the tests and boom, it doesn't work. And you fix it and boom, it doesn't work. Until finally, great success, it works. And now every change you do, you just run the tests again. The tests pass, you're good for production, you're good for deployment. Remember, testing abolishes agoraphobia. Abolishes the fear of that code. Okay. So who's writing the tests? Who's abolishing their fear? Let's start with back-end developers. They've been doing it for quite some time. Back-end developers have methodologies set and tooling, and they're mostly established. If you are a back-end developer, you need to write tests. It's not easy. You may not know it, but go to the web, there's lots of information. Front-end JavaScript developers? Not totally there yet. Lots of confusion. The methodologies and tooling aren't totally there yet, but it's happening. If you're a front-end developer that does JavaScript, you can know how to, and there are a lot of educators in the field. First and foremost, Ken Dodds, Justin Searles, Kevin Lamping, Gleb, which we saw in a talk here, Gleb Bahmutov of Cypress fame, Shai Resnick of Angular fame, and others. They're slowly teaching us how to do front-end JavaScript testing. And we're slowly building a methodology based on unit testing, component and multi-component testing using JS DOM, and browser automation testing using Cypress, WebDriver IO, Selenium WebDriver, Test Cafe, and others. Okay, so back-end developers, front-end JavaScript developers. What about front-end CSS developers? They're sad. Yep. They don't know how to write tests for CSS. I didn't. I used to work at Wix. I didn't know. We'll talk about that later. Why? Well, front-end JavaScript tests are functional. You have the input, you have the algorithm, you have the output. So the tests themselves are, you do something, you pass it through the algorithm, and you assert the results. Pretty easy. Well, it gets more complicated than that, but if you take the essence, that is the essence. Do some action, run the stuff, check the results. Very easy. But how do I functionally test the visuals of this? I've seen places where they check the color of this border is blue, and the width of this is 100 pixels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's crazy. That's hundreds of pages of testing CSS properties, and frankly, you're not guaranteed that it looks what you think it should look like. So how do I functionally test this? And the answer is, most people just don't know. We can't do functional testing because there's no algorithm here. Not really. It's the browser. Testing CSS is a really, really hard problem. If you haven't been doing it till now, that's fine. It really is a hard problem. And at Wix, I used to do, as part of my front-end testing methodology building, I went and said, OK, I've tested everything. How do I test my CSS? And I tried things, and they just didn't work. And we'll talk about why later. And the reason, the essence reason, is it's visual, not functional. And testing visual is hard. But don't believe the rumors. Writing tests for CSS is possible. How? Well, a lot of people come to me in conferences and say, well, you navigate to this is how visual testing works. And it doesn't. You navigate to a page using some browser automation tool like Cypress, take a screenshot of the page, and then verify that it looks good. Okay, they think that the tooling can just look at a page and, woo, this is good. Or maybe verify that it conforms to a certain design system. That's what they think. Unfortunately, that's not possible. Our machine learning and other algorithms are just not good to look at a page and says, hey, this is beautiful. And remember, we need to check that it is beautiful, just like Prague. Well, Prague I know is beautiful. I look at it. But how does an algorithm look at a page and say, oh, this is good, this looks good? And the answer is they're not that good yet. Who knows? But not yet. So how does it work? How does visual regression testing work? And the answer is this, and this is a sample code using Cypress. You've already seen it if you've seen the talk yesterday by Gleb. You set a viewport because you want to test it in a certain width. You visit your application, you navigate the browser to an application, you do the stuff that you want to do. This is typing into an input. And then, this is where the magic happens. You do one-liner using some plugin, some visual testing plugin, and you say match image snapshot. And what happens here? This is what happens here. The tool takes a screenshot of your app. That's one. Then it compares the screenshot with a baseline screenshot. The first time the test runs, there's no baseline screenshot, so it just takes that picture, takes that screenshot, that's the baseline. The second time, it compares it, up. There we go. Rookie mistake. It compares the screenshots with the baselines and checks for differences. If it doesn't find a difference, perfect, the test passes, the check passes. If it finds a difference, there are two possible outcomes. Either it's a bug. Yep, I mucked up my CSS and changed something, deleted a rule, or which was, it seems, used. Or it's OK. I did want to move that button 10 pixels to the right. It happens. What would the tool know, or the visual testing tool know, whether it's a bug or a feature? The answer is no. It's up to you to decide whether a difference, a diff, is a bug or a feature. So you need to accept or reject the difference. And that is how you test your CSS. Take a screenshot, do the comparison. If it's fine, good. If not, you accept or reject the difference. Thank you very much. Questions? Nah, just joking. I wish it would. I mean, this is what I tried at Wix. It didn't work. I really, really tried. It took a week. Oh my God, I have this. OK. Because there's an elephant in the room. If you're not culturally American, I'm not. But an elephant in the room is something that nobody talks about, but it's just there. It's a problem. It's actually not one elephant. It's four. And we'll talk about the four elephants. Elephant number one. Taking a screenshot is hard. I mean, all of the tools know how to take a screenshot, but believe me, it's not easy. Each automation tool works differently. They have lots of problems with taking a full page. Most of them you know how to take a viewport. You want to take a specific selector, a specific component, forget about it. Stuff with CSS scrolling, and it's hard. But, so if even taking a screenshot is hard, do we abandon ship? Don't believe the rumors. Writing tests for CSS is possible because all those tools, both commercial and open source, deal with that. But some of them deal with that better than others. Try before you buy. Elephant number two. Taking screenshots is easy. Comparing them is hard. You have your baseline, you have your current screenshot. How do you compare them? The standard comparison is, well, pixel by pixel. Okay, just check if all the pixels are different. The answer is, I wish. Look at these two. These look the same screenshot, same app, taken on different machines. This is one, this is the other. As you can see, there are anti-aliasing differences based on the graphic driver of the machine. You can't do pixel comparison. Let's give another example. Same dog, same JPEG. This is Chrome 67, this is Chrome 68. This is a real example. This is the difference. I mean, it looks the same, but these red ones are the pixel differences. Chrome changed the way they render JPEG from 67 to 68. Remember our testing bookstore? I tried on it. I tried it with a pixel by pixel. This is one screenshot. This is another. This is a diff. I have no idea why it's on the same machine, 10-minute difference in a headless browser. I don't know how it happened, but it does happen. Pixel by pixel basically generates either false positives or false negatives. And the way these tools handled it, the pixel by pixel, is they give you a slider, an error slider. I call it the false positives or false negative error handler. What do you want more, false positives or false negatives? So, this one had me stumped at Wix. Do we abandon ship? Nope. Don't believe the rumors. CSS testing is possible. And the answer is some tools employ really advanced screenshot comparison algorithms. They look at the page not like a pixel by pixel thing, but they look at it as a human would. They look for the texts, they look for the images, and they find the differences. And if there are little differences, minor differences in a certain text thing, or if something is offset by 1 pixel, which happens, they ignore it. No false positives, no false negatives. There are tools like that. And all of them, it's only commercial tools, unfortunately, all of them have free and OSS plans. Elephant 3. Managing those comparisons is hard. Remember, you need to accept, if there is a diff, you need to accept or reject the difference. How do you do that? We have to do that for hundreds of comparisons. And the way that we do that is we copy the screenshot from the actual folder to the expected folder. Doing that for hundreds of screenshots is difficult. So, do we abandon ship? There are 3 ways to deal with screenshot comparisons. One is just accept them all. This is one of the tools in Cypress uses that. Just, yeah, this looks good. You run the test again, and it accepts all the screenshots. Another one is, as I said, copying the folders. The third one is using a commercial tool that has dashboards that enable this kind of stuff. All commercial tools, and some OSS tools, by the way, have this dashboard. Elephant number 4, it's the most difficult one. Testing all those responsive widths in browsers. Functional tests, you all people, you mostly test in Chrome, right? And why? It used to be that it was wrong, but today it's right. Not because Chrome is the most modern, because functionally all browsers are now equivalent, mostly equivalent, unless you're doing crazy stuff. But visually, there are differences. Not only that, you're doing responsive widths, different widths, and you have to test all of them. And manually testing them is crazy. How do we test all these responsive widths? Do we abandon ship? Nope, it's possible, and there are 3 solutions. One is run the test multiple times. This is an example. You figure out your sizes, responsive widths, and on each one you generate a test which sets the viewport to the correct size and then just runs it. You run the test multiple times. That's very slow, so you can try and parallelize the test. And the last solution is let the cloud solve it for you. Instead of taking a screenshot on your machine, and this is interesting, you grab the DOM, not just the DOM of the page, the DOM and the CSS and the SVGs and the PNGs and the fonts and the whatever, upload them to the cloud, and then the cloud in parallel can generate screenshots on all the browsers it has for you and generate those screenshots for you. That's the 4th solution. So, it really is as easy as this. This is how a visual regression test looks like. Do the stuff and then check the screenshot. But you have to take care of the 4 elephants. Let's do a demo. Okay. May the gods of Demoland be with me. This is a test. Yep. I visit, I'm testing the testing bookstore, which we saw earlier. I'm using Applitools Eyes here. I'm opening the test. I'm specifying which browsers I want to generate screenshots on. And then I do the type something in the search bar, take a screenshot of the whole homepage, and take a screenshot of just one book in the bookstore, just to do a component test. And that's it. I'll open the wonderful Cypress. By the way, I'm testing in Cypress, but there are testing tools, and Applitools supports all of the SDKs that you know and love. This is the test it's running. And it's done, but look, the test is still running. Why is that? Because it's waiting for all the screenshots to be generated in the cloud. We'll wait a few seconds. Demo gods are? No. Oh, this is embarrassing. Oops. Let's look at the tests. We see here, I'll look at another one. We'll see here. Oh, it's the Wi-Fi. We have a lot of screenshots. Each test has 2 pages. Why do we have a lot of screenshots here? Because this is running in Chrome on 800 and 600, et cetera, et cetera. We also have an IE page. Notice that there's a bug in IE. We're not seeing the image, so this is a visual bug in IE. And this is a visual bug, and we're running in Firefox in various different resolutions. Perfect. Now, let's do a change. I will change the CSS to make the title bold. And, oops. Run it. So now, as you can see, this is now red all over here. Yep, it's probably the Wi-Fi. I'll stop. I have a sample here. This is all the tests. As you can see, it's unresolved. Why is it unresolved? Because the testing tool doesn't know whether it's a bug or a feature. So let's look. The component is fine. We're good. But the whole page, as you can see, there's a diff here. Let's show both of them. Sorry. And you can see the difference here between the two. One is red and one is white. The interesting thing about some of these tools is, look, I can do this. Remember we were capturing the DOM snapshot before? So we're using that. Look what happens when I press on this. What it's doing is it's saying, hey, we captured the DOM of the baseline and not the baseline, right? I can do a diff. I can check what elements were affected by this, look at the rules that affect them, and show you the cause of that CSS rule. So you don't have to guess why something has changed. The tool will give it to you with no problem. So there we go. That's the demo. So in summary, don't believe the rumors. Writing tests for CSS is possible. Join the backend and the JavaScript clans. If you're a CSS developer, a markup developer, you can do CSS testing. You can cure your CSS ego programmophobia. It's a hard problem because it's a visual one. Don't worry. And taking screenshots, etc. There are 4 elephants. It is solvable, and don't forget the 4 elephants. So I want you all, I love science fiction. One of the most important books for me is Dune. I think in a half a year you're all going to see a movie by Denis Villeneuve. So I want you all to stand because we need to recite the litany of fear. Everybody stand. Please, come on, you can do it. Yes, more of you, more. We need to recite because all of you people need to test. And you need to remove your ego programmophobia. So please, along with me, are you ready? I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will test my CSS. I will permit to pass over and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only my tests will remain. Thank you very much.